Normally, what happens is that as a business owner, you grow in capacity, you get overwhelmed, right? And so you hire some people, and then what happens is that those people, you struggle a little bit to get them to perform, so you realize that you need some project management tools, and you want to work with them, you want to make sure that they have everything they need, but it's still not working. And so you look around and you hear you need to make SOPs, document your processes, create some guides. But now you are making all that stuff, and in the meantime, right, you have people who have joined, and then that person continues to be with you during that process. And so now what they see is that they come into the picture, but they see you try these different things, and in the meantime you still haven't figured it out and things are not working out. So even now you try maybe some trainings, your skills, their processes, right? And what's happening is that along the way, well, you constantly try new tools and new processes, so they don't know if this is gonna work. Maybe you added a second person by the time you get here because things are working out, but you just don't have the internal ways. You're better at marketing than in these systems and operations, right? And so all this time what's happening is that there is a culture that is being formed, there are processes that are being defined, there are relationships that are being established, and if that is not aligned towards creating a better place for people to thrive and work in, it's really hard to change things. And so normally what happens is that either the founder has two choices. Either they say, I'm no good with people and I don't think this is something that I want, or they realize, okay, how do I make this work? And if you're watching this, then obviously you are on this boat, which means that you want to figure out, you have a vision of building a business. You know that in order to make that a business, you need to have a team, you need to have people. You now started adding up here as well AI, because you see potential in having AI come in, which is basically more of a tool here, like project management. But the truth is that none of this is going to work if you don't do the following. In order to get somebody to perform, there has to be three things that they need to be fully clear on. In order for somebody to perform, they need to know what it is that they have to do. And let me just bring that bigger here. Okay, that's too big. So in order for that to happen, they need to know what they need to be doing. They obviously then they need to then obviously understand how things need to get done, and they need to be clear on why things are getting done. So for somebody to perform, you don't need to be hiring experts and that are going to come in and save the day, people who know what they're doing. The mistake that I see most common across the board when it comes to small businesses, and it's because I did it too, is that we think that we just need to hire somebody to take over an area so that we just put somebody there and then that stuff will be figured out. But what happens is that you cannot afford an expensive expert, so you hire somebody that is coming in to learn, to figure things out, somebody that is cheaper that you can actually afford. But you cannot guide that person. You cannot give them the skills. Like, you are the person who knows how to run your business. You're the one who needs to build the systems, replace yourselves with people or AI or technology, and then move on to figure out the next part. If you put somebody there, doesn't matter how good they are, if they don't understand your business, if they don't understand the purpose, if they don't understand how things are handled within your business, it's going to be really hard for them to actually perform. And that is why we need to start replacing ourselves is from the stuff that we know already that how to do, that we can actually train somebody on doing it the way that we do it. And so that's why we need to get very clear on the what, how, and why of actually every role. But it's not only every role. We need to have the role, how that person works within, what it is that they need to do. Then the process and the business. And so there are 3 layers here that need to be really clear in order for somebody to be able to come in and take over and perform the way that you expect them to perform. Normally, that is not the case, because if you hire somebody to take over an area that you have never built anything in there, the role is not clear, the processes that role needs to do are not defined, and the relationship between that work and the business and where you want to go, it's also not clear. So that's why when you hire somebody, if they're not performing, either they don't know what they need to do, they don't know how to do it, or they don't know why that work matters. This is why it's so crucial for you to hire for stuff that you already know what to do. Now, the next problem that we have, let's say that you do Webflow websites or you edit videos. If you hire somebody to build the websites for you, okay, that is something that you used to do. Now you're delegating the work that you don't want to do anymore, or that you have moved on from, that you have outgrown, that you want to move on to doing something else. So, okay, you know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. The problem is that now you have something called the expert's curse. And what that does is that it makes you believe that the average level of people, like the knowledge that people have about something, it is actually higher than it really is. And so when you start communicating with people, you miss a lot of crucial details in that training that they need in order to perform. Because they may be good at design, but they need to understand how to apply their skills to the work that you do and the business and your business, so that actually can help you. That's why it takes about 2 years in order to get somebody to perform. This is also the same reason why AI hasn't worked for you. AI is basically an intern that is very capable, but it needs to know and understand your business in order to apply those skills in a way that is relevant for you. That's why when you use it without the clear information it needs, it creates output that is generic and not relevant to you. It is the same way when you hire somebody. And so the expert's curse makes you not take into consideration a lot of the content that it is required for that person to perform. That's why we need to remind ourselves of what they need to do, how they're supposed to do it, and why they need to be doing this. And here is the key of all this. Basically, when we think about it, the what is the actions that you do in order to complete the process or deliver the stuff that you want to deliver to the client. The how is your expertise, your unique way of doing something, because there could be a lot of businesses that do branding or video editing, but you have your own way of doing things, and that's how things are done in your business. That's your intellectual property. That is your asset. That's what makes you different from everybody else. It's just sort of, if you ask LeBron James and Michael Jordan to teach you basketball, they will have their own ways and their own methodology, because it's how they understand the craft and the game. And so that is your expertise. And then lastly, we're going to have your philosophy as your way to create and dictate the rules and the culture and so on. So basically, the actions becomes the what, the expertise becomes the how, and your philosophy becomes the why. That right there, if you continue to take this further, you take your philosophy, your beliefs, your visions, your purpose, right? That's going to define the why the work the person is doing is relevant towards the company. And we use that to create the culture. We take your expertise to define the how things need to be done. That is your unique way of doing things. And that actually, it's going to be the systems. So that's going to be your skills, which is the things that we need to teach people on so that they know how to do the work like us. These are the skills. And then the actions are going to be the systems that people need to follow. We train people with the skills in order to run the systems. And then the culture defines how people need to think. And when you bring the three together, meaning what, how, and why, so the system, skills, and culture, now you have everything you need to take somebody that has the right mindset, that believes the same things that you believe, that is aligned with your culture. You can then teach them, give them the system, the process that they need to follow in order to serve the client. And then you give them the skills in order for them to know how to run those systems so that the client gets the experience and the results that they expect from a person that is following a system that is designed for your employee to deliver the same results that you would without you having to be there, but still providing the same experience to the customer because they're guided by your culture. And when we bring those three together, this is what we called the founder's essence. And this founder's essence, it's the thing that you need to capture. It's your unique way of doing things. It's the way that you as the founder go out of your way to make sure that every client has this experience and it goes home happy because they got what they were looking for in a way that it was rewarding and delightful. The founder's essence is what needs to be harvested in order for you to build the systems, extract the skills and the culture so that you can transfer your expertise to a team and then they can serve customers just the same way that you would without you having to be there. And when you have that, that's when you start to see your team fly solo, because then they can take over. They perform beyond your expectations because they know what they need to be doing, how to do it, and why it matters. And that's what gives you the confidence in them so that you can focus on generating more business. This is the stuff that a business owner misses, and they just run directly to hiring people. They run to set up some project management tools. They run to train them. They run to write some guides and so on. But in the end, none of that stuff works. And so now they find themselves between dealing and getting clients, and then dealing with the team, and then reaching capacity. And so they stop selling, and now they manage a team. And so the pipeline dries, and now they're constantly in this place where they basically hate themselves and hate their life and hate the business that they have built, and they start to resent themselves. They resent the clients, they resent the team. And this obviously projects to the team, and the team resents them back, and this projects to the clients, and the clients are like, why did we buy with these guys? And then eventually they stop working. And so here, after a lot of trial and error, that's what I figured out I needed. That's after I had a failed team and a failed business that we fought and we split it. After I burned out trying to make this work, and I decided to go into e-commerce, and then came back into the service space. And then finally, once I had the last call where I knew that in order to grow, I needed to start to replace myself, but I couldn't make the push to pay people money because it was coming from my own pocket. In the end, I saw that I was going to be a father, and there was no way around it. This had to be done. And so that was the last push that allowed me to understand this. And in the end, what worked when I look back was that I was able to create a solution-oriented culture based on my beliefs and my vision for the business. I was able then to systemize delivery so that by standardizing the process, every team member knew exactly what needed to be done because they kept doing the same thing over and over, and that guided people. And then I created a process to give people the skills they needed in order to shine, and so broke down sort of the roles, and they grew within the roles as they got the skills that they needed for the next stages as they took over and replaced myself. And so this is basically the process. This is what we do in the sprint. So literally, you know what you need to be doing. Obviously, it's a bit of a challenge because you're close to it, and the founders and the experts curse makes it a little bit hard of what goes where. But if you have now this overview, you will get there. Maybe it takes you about a year, but you will get there. Now, in the sprint, we do this in 6 weeks. We actually have one call where we map out your entire process. Normally, this is what we do as a discovery call. And then we understand your business. And then from there, we can tell you if the sprint will work or not. And then in one day, we extract all of this. We go in and build the systems for you. And then we transfer them to you so that you can hit the ground running. And we train you and your team on that so that within 6 weeks, everything is up and running. And then we actually offer you an extra 30 days of support just to make sure that everything is continuously tailored to your particular way of doing things. So if this sounds interesting, what I would say is go ahead, click the button below, book a discovery session. We're going to analyze your business. We're going to map it out, identify where the bottlenecks are, where are the key elements that you're coming into the picture that need to be broken down, what can be standardized, what can be given to people, what can be given to AI, because now AI has gotten really good and we can actually extract your expertise and transfer it to AI so that AI does the heavy lifting while your team then is managing the projects with the clients. And then they, instead of spending 4 hours doing one particular element of your deliverable, we give that to AI. They take it, AI brings it to 80%. Their team can bring it all the way to 100, and then they give it to the client. And basically, if you don't have, maybe you have one freelancer, you're one person, you start to replace yourself as you understand the structure that is required to deliver this. Because with AI, it's a little bit different. You don't so much have clear roles, you have more of workflows and processes, and then there are different areas that are grouped with skills. And so basically that's what would be done. And the goal in the end is to streamline delivery by extracting your expertise, create an environment where people are coming in, showing up to do work that they're proud of. Especially in a service business, you eventually need to hire people to cover certain areas, whatever cannot be done by AI, or at least just the touch points that you want to provide a nice experience to your clients. And then you have the systems that allow you to provide clients with a world-class experience at scale without them feeling like they're not your only client. And that is the beauty of this. If you have any questions, just go ahead and book a discovery session. We'll go in, map out your business, identify the bottlenecks, and then we can see from there. And I can show you how the sprint can actually take things in complete different, not direction, but unlock basically the next level of growth in your business. My name is Juan. I'm the founder of Scaleyard, and this is what we do for businesses. We work with the founders, we extract your expertise, and we use it to design your culture, map out your systems, and build out skills, whether it is for AI or for your team members. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me, and I'll see you in your discovery call. Cheers.